Hello, my loves. I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being on this channel where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And this video is about taking your energy back from the narcissist, right? This is so important because narcissists are energy vampires to the highest degree, and a lot of what goes on isn't in the physical reality. It's actually in the psychic and energetic realms, right? When we're ruminating, when we can't stop thinking about them. You can literally have one encounter with a narcissist that can leave you so confused, right? And so, you know what I mean? Just completely disrupted and derailed for quite a long time. So it's not just our physical exposure, it's our energetic exposure that we've got to take back. There are videos on this channel talking about breaking psychological ties, breaking psychic attack, because our thought energy towards them, especially when it's like just going over and over and over and over circumstances, or pining for them, or wanting to get their attention, wanting them to resolve what they've basically triggered and is left unhealed in us, is all energy being drained from us and going towards them, right? They get their power from siphoning our energy. So first of all, just be aware that like being completely confused, about what's happened to you is like, I think, one of the biggest symptoms of narcissistic abuse. I made a video yesterday, short, just to say, often you'll know you're with a narcissist or a toxic manipulator because you'll be extremely confused. There's no logic to what goes on. Even the arguments, it's all gaslighting. It's all a way in which they distort your reality and leave you in a very dysregulated state. Why? Because when you're dysregulated, right, they can easily hijack you emotionally and siphon your energy. It's an energetic game. So the first thing is to come into your body and like know that like when you're ruminating, going over things, confused about things, you've basically been under attack. Because look, when we can't understand what's going on and what's happened to us, it's a real telltale sign that we've been manipulated. Yeah, we're all able to see things for what they are clearly until we get into high levels of manipulation, right? So know that if you are very confused, the exposure to these types of people is exactly what that does. Yeah. And you will come back to yourself and your own awareness, right, and reality once you can see clearly what actually happened to you. Because I think for a lot of us, it's actually understanding, well, what actually happened to me? Because on the surface level, it can seem like something we think we could have coped with, or something that didn't seem that bad sometimes, not always. And what we tend to find in these relationships is that we do things that are so out of character, right? Because the whole thing's a twilight zone. You might have done things that you'd never thought you would do, which can include things like taking someone back that's cheated on you, or being in a very toxic relationship that you never ever saw yourself getting into, right? So just know that the level of manipulation is so high, right? It takes us away from ourselves. It takes us into circumstances where we don't know ourselves anymore. Yeah, we don't know who we are. We're not living authentically. We're not living in our values. We're not living for what we really truly stand for, right? Because our whole emotions and reality's been hijacked. We don't know what's what anymore, right? They distort our sense of reality. Gaslighting is complex with a narcissist, because when you try and get resolution with them, or understanding, or get them to see what happened, they're going to blame you a lot of the time. They're going to somehow turn it back on you. If you weren't so jealous, if you weren't so insecure, or even like you chose to do this. A lot of people I've coached, talk about how they got into things that were not their character at all, right? But the narcissist will convince you that that's what you wanted to do, when actually they've emotionally hijacked you and got you to make a decision in a very dysregulated state, right? So all of it is just taking us away from ourselves. So how do you take your energy and your power back? One, you come into yourself. It's what I call self-focus and self-partner. When I'm actually in my own energy, that's a start. When I break the psychic ties, stop ruminating, stop trying to understand the ununderstandable, right? What's the purpose of it? What's the truth of it? most of the time, if you're with a narcissist, you were being manipulated, you were being morphed into what they needed you to be and taken away from who you actually are, right? So the first thing is to understand that going over the events and trying to make sense of them, blaming yourself, or even like, you know, I think one, just knowing you were acting out of character because you were under a high level of manipulation can help, right? Because it's not the real you. And I think knowing that it wasn't the real you in those situations and circumstances can help you get your power and your confidence back, right? Because all of this is about how do we get our power back? How do we take our energy back? How do we get our confidence in ourselves that has been so eroded in these cycles, right? First of all, understanding that narcissistic abuse is such a high level of attack on self. Finding ourselves again, living by our values day by day, right? Reconnecting to who we really are, which can feel very lost in the middle of these cycles, but you can do it step by step. And the more we come back into ourselves, the more power we get, the more energy we get, the more zest for life we get again. It's when we feel lost because we've become someone we don't recognize that is the hardest part of this cycle. So if you're going through that, I'm sending you a ton of love, and just know that you can come completely back to yourself. And the first thing is just let go of any ideas and assumptions you've got on who you've become because of them, because it's not the real you, right? Go back to what you believe in your heart, what you know to be true, and know that you were just completely eroded in the cycle, right? It's got nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. I hope that's helpful, guys. Lots of love. I'll speak to you soon.